Well, good morning from Rando time zone, or good afternoon, potentially, for those of you who are just a little bit ahead of us. What a way to start out the day with, just a little rando match. We are already in the main tournament, quarterfinals, top 8, and uh, man, have we got an exciting not only race but quite the series here between Eriror and Andy. Oh my gosh, these are probably arguably two of the most famous people here in Rando. Amazing accolades for both Eri and Andy. It is going to be a really exciting match. I am Claire Mouse. Joined with me on commentary is Jurasi. And on tracking is Danny. Hello, Drossi. Are you ready for the series? Because
Good
I'm sure not.
morning. Yeah, no, this has got to be an amazing series. There's no way it can not be an amazing series. So, yeah, I'm just really excited to see what these two runners wind up showing us.
Oh yeah. All right. So as we have just learned from our uncle and Ambrosia, of course, standard start is that we actually get to find out that the boots are in fact in the light world. Light world can mean a couple of different things. We're gonna hope that in this case that it's going to be somewhere friendly in the light world. We just did a very quick, unexpected map check on Aries' side. Hopefully in this case, I just catch a crystal Eastern. Is that it?
I caught a 5-6 in Eastern
Okay.
and a blue pendant on Hera. I didn't catch Desert.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What I was gonna say, so right, we're certainly hoping in this case that the boots are gonna be found somewhere nice, like Kakariko, right? Ice Rock Cave, Mini Molder Cave. These are great light world locations. What are some kind of terrible light world locations? Technically, the pedestal does actually count as a light world location, so let's just hope that the boots aren't there today.
And most of our mirror locations are also light world, as is Sahasrara. So, those are all things that we can't get to anytime soon.
Yes, Oh, that's right. Yeah, the green pendant also does count.
Speaking of green pendant, that apparently is on Desert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And, we certainly want, right, now as you mentioned, right, there are going to be, locations where we can't necessarily get to yet. Desert is going to be, potentially book locked. We can maybe find an early book. Actually, their room name today actually is Sunken Medora, so maybe we will actually see, a book in the dam or something like that, but that would give them desert access. Of course, there's also the slightly longer way of, mirror plus flute plus mitts. But, let's just hope in this case that, both of these guys can find the boost relatively quickly. Ari, of course, Ari and Andy, by the way, super, super talented at this game, right? Ari, of course, more recently, has the NMG world record with a flat 123, number 1 on the leaderboard. Andy, of course, certainly not far behind. He has a mid 124. 13th on the leaderboard for all-time fastest. I mean, in talk about execution, you're not going to get any better than these two guys.
Yeah, and Andy, the interesting thing, I mean, after being two-time winner of this tournament, he was knocked out in the round of 64 the next two times, so this is his first time since then getting back this deep in the tournament.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. No, it's actually just really, amazing to actually see. I mean, this is kind of like the nature of Rando, too, right? Just because you have necessarily the best execution, sometimes, the route that you end up choosing can, sometimes favor you or sometimes, favors your opponent more often.
And we're getting so many heart pieces, so I was starting to wonder if this was open hard.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Oh man, yeah, open hard certainly, is 48 heart pieces, something like that. But there's nothing fancy about this item pool. It's just gonna be a regular one. We do actually see in this case that Ari and Andy, of course, both start out with a sword, something that of course, going through escape is gonna be much more comfortable, especially for very, very talented NMG runners. Also, for what it's worth. A lot of people probably do escape maybe more often just because it seems like there's some more popularity with the vanilla preset. Just because other people like Shax and Mike have actually created a leaderboard for this stuff. It's really going to really good to see you basically more runners kind of going through some of the original game in rando quality of life terms.
Sorry, I'm just taken by the Octopath Traveler music.
Oh yeah. Oh, but yes, thank you by the way, Terasi, and everyone involved in speed gaming. This, I believe, is actually somewhat recent to brackets. Is that we're actually able to use or let runners stream their own MSU audio, like within like being on Restream. It has been such like great in order to be able to basically listen to something else that isn't vanilla audio.
Yeah, it's been fun, and like there's so many MSUs that have been approved, like a good 30 or 40 of them at this point. So you really get a variety of soundtracks from different runners.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Most notably, I guess, or maybe not necessarily more notably, is that we actually, instead of the blue boomerang, we actually do have a red boomerang. Not maybe quite the exact muscle memory that both Ari and Andy are used to kind of coming out of Escape, but certainly at least they can make do. You actually just see that in this case, Ari and Andy are trying to maybe use that boomerang potentially as an extra prize pack for stun. But it looks like both Ari and Andy kind of figured out that at least we're going to be able to get at least one bomb off of the rats. And Andy is going to really hope in this case to farm something with the bomb from these rats. Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
because we wow, there was the flute in the back of Escape.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the flute and the ice rod.
One improvement that was made after last year's tournament, very blue back of Escape, is that the drops are seeded during an escape sequence. So they simply needed to beat the same number of rats, and they were guaranteed the bomb drop.
Yeah, I mean, so certainly good on both Ari and Andy, of course, for recognizing that. And you're right. I think one of the things that we certainly did see from last year's tournament, which was standard hard the entire way through and through, is that it is really unfortunate if in this case like one runner ends up finding a bomb kind of like luckily on a drop versus the other, and especially in this case, right? We saw what was in the back of Escape. Not only was it the ice rod, it was also a flute. I mean, so like that type of like kind of like gap, especially between like Ari and Andy, is really something that you really don't want to see between the two, right? To have basically one runner have such a time advantage over the other at such an early stage.
So this way, if you don't get it, well, it's your own fault for not killing as many enemies as your opponent did. And that 50 rupees is nice there. That'll help us afford bombs, bottle bender, all that fun stuff we usually need in Kakariko.
Yeah. Yeah, any type of like early money, resources, bombs, anything, right, will certainly basically help them out. And especially, given that we do know that the boots are somewhere in the light world, certainly, would probably be more incentivizing, for maybe, Ari and Andy to try and do Kakariko, South Shore, anything that's very, like item dense. And yeah, that tree pull that Ari found, in order to get some 8 bombs out of it, in this case, a full pack, yeah, it's going to really help him out.
And that's tier 1, I think, that they both checked the tier 2 tree pull, and it was just small magic, and Eri had the presence of mind to think to, beat one more enemy and check the tier 1. Andy has not, so it looks like he's going to activate the flute and then maybe go buy bombs before he starts opening chests here.
Yeah, and especially just depending on what we're going to find here in Kakariko, might be able to give Eri a little bit of heads up, but we do have a little bit more money. Oh, it's okay, we have more money, so we're definitely going to be able to afford the bottle bender on both sides today. The risk, of course, is right, is that we don't necessarily find enough money within Kakariko or somewhere else, especially on Andy's side, right, where he needs 50 rupees to not only buy bombs, he also does need a little bit more money in order to afford bottle vendor. But this case, just because we saw, Eri kind of pick up more than enough cash, in blind set, this is not going to be too big of an issue.
But yeah, this will definitely give Eri maybe a half-minute lead even, because he can route Kak kind of the normal way, top to bottom.
Yeah, Of course, right. We're definitely hoping that boots do show up at some point soon. Oh man, you know, oh beautiful!
You were
oh
saying.
My gosh! Oh dude, Andy, hurry up and go to the well. Ari has just found not only the boots, he also found a master sword. We are so happy to be able to dash. You know, basically 9 minutes into the game.
And
look
the
at
bottle,
that,
so we
yeah.
can just, you know, swing by Sick Kid while we're in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that was like one of the first things that Ari picked up in the well, which is like, oh, okay, you know, with the flute, that means that we basically don't have to make, you know, any other additional trips over to Kakariko. We are basically done with this entire place because, you know, maybe outside like the powder, it's kind of maybe later on, you know, but in this case, even with the real boots, right, we can be able to bonk what potentially is off of the library, and then we can just go about our merry way.
So with these early boots and these two runners, they're just going to hover the whole game, right?
I mean, you know, at least it's equal footing, booting, you know, like, you know, you definitely want, you know, if you're gonna put boots on, you know, Ari and Andy, oh man, like, the amount of stuff they can actually do, right? We've seen, you know, races, race streams, time and time again, just how skilled these are, and it would be really unfortunate if, you know, one person had them, you know, versus the other one, right? So I'm really actually excited to basically see early boots for both Ari and Andy, just because of just how much they're able to do.
And with Sick Kid giving us another piece of heart, we were discussing this during the Obscure Humbug match yesterday, like, how many pieces of heart has Sick Kid given out over the years, and what does that leave him with?
Oh man, well, maybe that's why he's sick, right? Just little by little, right? He's just never gonna get better because, you know, he's always have to giving out his heart pieces.
And that Quake medallion on library may or may not prove useful.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, so right. Given that we already have in this case like 2 light world pendants, you know, the chances are going to be, well, we're definitely going to need at least 1 medallion. But I guess we're going to maybe see like wish dungeons, but certainly could in this case be required. Andy checking out the quick medallion, realizing that it is indeed a medallion. Let me go back, and potentially I might need it later.
Famous double take.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice anti-fairs. See, exactly. So this is exactly why we need boots, both on Andy and Ari. You know, Ari, of course, already showcasing some of his, you know, really good NMG muscle memory. You know, just because, well, without boots, you really can't do something like that, but it certainly still takes a lot of good skill in order to be able to skip out on that anti-fairy.
But yeah, the time difference between our 2 runners at the moment is almost entirely due to Ari's decision to check the tier 1 tree pull and get a heck of a lot of bombs out of it while Andy detoured to buy bombs. Speaking of bombs...
Speaking of bombs that we can't even carry at this point, I guess we do technically have a refill, but man, that was a really disappointing mini Moldorm Cave.
And Ari's continuing with the standard South Shore routing, speeding it up with that flute. I imagine Andy will do the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you know, basically minus the no boots and escape, this is basically a casual boot seat at this point, right? With, in this case, like 2 swords, right? Not even. So, gonna be very, very comfortable for both Andy and Ari. Speaking of comfortable, hey, look, we just found a first piece of Dark World access, which is a glove.
Well, I mean, not counting the fact that we could do a Dark Aga Tower if we really wanted to get to the Dark World.
Yeah, you know what? You know, for Ari and Andy, I want to see them do like all of these, you know, like super difficult, like low, you know, not commonly seen stuff, right? Like Dark Aga. You know, I want to see some like, you know, Master Sword, you know, boss fights. You know, we don't need to put Tempered Sword necessarily, you know, in these hands. While it's going to be comfortable for them, it's going to be certainly much more entertaining for us.
And Ari's giving us a lumberjack, speaking of Aga. So we'll see if we're gonna need it for a lumberjack item. We still may or may not need it for Dark World access.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious actually to see maybe the fact that Ari is, you know, going up this way means that maybe he is thinking about sequence breaking the mountain. Or he just wants a check.
It's not a sequence break if he flutes to 1.
That's right, I forgot. That's right, we picked up an early flute. This particular old man check is technically a sequence break right now. Speaking of dark rooms, not quite as difficult as Dark Aga, but in this case we still can't see anything without the lamp. We just got a little bit of sparklies. Good thing SG has technology to let us see in high definition.
So we're walking over there. Decided to skip the Zora ledge check so that he's not orphaning Zora himself.
Yeah, no, certainly makes a very it's certainly very reasonable. I've seen this very commonly done in races as well. Although those simultaneous checks, though, Aries certainly not going to turn down Blue Mail. Certainly could be really nice safety.
But
Andy's,
Blue Mail's making things too easy for them. You said you wanted to see things be hard.
Yeah, I mean, both Ari and Andy, I think, you name the mode, they've done it. Especially, for Andy and Ari, in terms of just a lowish percent, more than capable. But yeah, all right, talking about Booth's technique, Ari demonstrating another opportunity for us to, just, get the book a little bit faster.
It's also where was he going anyway? Because he doesn't have the hook shot or the mirror. There was nothing else he could have done on the mountain. He didn't need that bomb jump.
Yeah. Maybe he was thinking about trying to just come back and flute. I'm not sure if that was faster, but given that the bomb, I mean, who needs bombs when you've got the boots, man? Ari, just hover right back. You know what? We have a fire source now, by the way, to take out Desert.
Yeah, we can beat Desert while we're here. It's the green pendant, but since we haven't even been to Sahasrara yet, and we know there's an item on Lanmo, there's a pretty good case to be made for beating Desert, as well as this is starting to look like it might be an Aga Seed, so we'd really like to find a hammer or the second glove.
Yeah, no, so you actually bring up a really interesting point, right? Yeah, so the fact that we do see a lamp, and of course it's logically accessible because we see Ari here in Pendant Desert. With the Master Sword, in the lamp, Aga's certainly looking like it's something that's very viable. Kind of one, difference though is that Andy has not gone up to the mountain yet, so he can't even get to the lamp. Now, maybe that being said, right? Again, we've got some, Dark Aga potential. Maybe Andy is certainly more than capable of doing it. But maybe he thinks that in this case, well, the book is just kind of sitting somewhere, let's say in, the back of Eastern or something like that, right? Maybe he'll just, climb the tower. Andy picking up a mushroom from Akina, immediately turning it in because we've got the flutes. Turns out it's just another heart container.
And what do you know? The items in Desert are going to be in the big chest and on Lanmo, just like they are in Vanilla.
Another heart container. Alright, Ari is still continuing on into this dungeon, not saving and quitting. He's really gonna go pick up the lamp. Yes, I am curious to see if he decides to, in this case, actually take out Lanmos.
So, the vanilla items in Desert are, of course, the glove and the boss heart container. In the glove chest, we just found a boss heart container, so I'm kind of wondering if Lanmo might have our other glove at this rate.
Easy. Alright, Andy has gone up the mountain as well, claimed his blue mail from these in this case still the technically out of sequence, check for him, but of course we both know, we all know where the lamp is, Ari's got it. Quick swap right out.
Well, let's see if Andy hovers this too, otherwise, Oh, yep, here we... Pauses for a moment.
It certainly would not be, Andy and Ari if we both couldn't at least, kind of get ourselves back and forth over there. But you know what? Andy has demonstrated that, yes, the boots are in fact more superior to bombs because he was able to make it both successfully to the book and back over the ledge.
And he must have seen the lamp when he first came through.
Yeah, right. Because when he fluted, because he didn't have the book, right, he just took a peek at what was on Desert Ledge, and then he went straight over to Gina. But it looks like, though, Andy's gonna just go straight back over to Desert. Thank you, Flute, and we're basically gonna follow what Ari has done. So,
Ice Rod strats, you don't see that too often, but it is the best weapon of what they have for beating Lanmo.
Eri, demonstrating that the Ice Rod isn't as user-friendly as some of our other weapons, but you're absolutely right, Drosy, in that it does the most offensive damage, per hit. Just, you have to land those hits. Drosy, that is not a glove, okay?
No. Maybe Saha will have the glove. I expect a flute to 5. Well, Eri hasn't done a Gina yet, so he'll do a Gina and then flute to 5. I mean, that's about all we have left in Logic anyway, that and Eastern, and I don't see these runners going into Eastern for 2 items. I think if Saha doesn't have anything on him or in his closet, we're going to get the Aga play.
Yeah, and, so with that glove, technically Zora is still in Logic. We did see kind of Andy skipping out on at least, like, the Zora, ledge and himself, but, money is not exactly, plentiful, at least, or in this early seat so far.
Yeah, I mean, do you really want a Houlihan? And then, fine, you get your Zora money, but then if it is an Agaseed, you don't have pod money when you get there.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. No, that's certainly, like, a very, very good point. It is that, we still, like, we need money for lots of things. And a 500 rupee expenditure maybe isn't necessarily in the cards for now. Maybe a slight difference between Eri and Andy. Yeah, Eri safe scumming his mushroom, so maybe he's thinking about potentially using it for later.
Yeah, now we're a ways away from being able to fake powder. Kind of need Samaria for that, as well as...
need, like, a lot of stuff. Hammer, mirror, Samaria, anything else in addition. But yeah, you're right. In this case, alright, so very quick detour over to the potion shop to find out in this case that we, of course, don't need the mushroom on Aries side. But I think you were right on your prediction. We're going straight to 5. Ooh, interesting.
I mean...
Okay.
Could need that, not gonna help us immediately.
Yeah, Bombos, okay, and a sword. Are you doing Aga? Are you going to Eastern?
I think we do Aga at this point. Okay. I don't see Eri going into Eastern, but I could be wrong. I'm apparently wrong.
Eri looks like he is going to try at least cover some of his bases, but of course, right, this being Ambrosia, we do know in this case that there is a guaranteed item on the boss, it's kind of seen in this case Desert Palace, and so unless Eri in this case finds a bow, we're not going to be able to complete it.
Yeah, so, Chad also pointing out, well, 2 items in here versus 1 item on Pyramid Ledge, and we still don't have the Moon Pearl.
Doesn't certainly preclude, in this case, that the pearls are sitting on Pyramid, of course, but, certainly would be worth Aries' while to at least check something out here. And we do have the boots, so at least, our trek into Eastern Palace isn't going to be, like, too much of a slog. Alright, Andy very shortly behind Eri. Mainly, a slight difference, is, well, Andy ended up not going up to the mountain immediately, so kind of had to make, like, kind of a double trip back into Desert after he picked up the book. But, I mean, certainly very, very close between these 2 runners.
He also does have the fake flippers checks out of the way, so if Eri does the flipper checks at some point, he'll be giving back that time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Bombos, right? So Bombos is kind of like a special medallion. For those of you who may believe in the rule of fire, Bombos could also be our ticket into Ice Palace. Certainly would not necessarily probably surprise anybody to find a fire rod in there.
Yes, I mean, Bombos was behind the lamp. We had to be able to light the torches in Desert.
That's very true. Alright, we found the big key. Oh! Okay!
Hey! They're all our fire sources!
Alright, yeah, okay, so this is actually quite the contrast between, for those of you maybe seen, like, last night's race, between GFE and Zelga, their entire race was basically looking for any type of fire source, like anything. Lamp, Bombos, fire rod, we have found everything here. It basically under, like, the 25-minute mark.
The fun thing about that race, it would have played very differently with these 2 runners because the fire rod was in Hookshot Cave, Zelga tried to hover, didn't get it. GFE didn't even try to hover. The hook shot was in Swamp, exactly where you want to find the hook shot, right?
Exactly. Yep. I mean, just go to the dungeon, just go to its vanilla dungeon. It's easy, right? Yeah, but unlike, of course, we've both seen Eri and Andy very, very capable of using those boots.
This must be the Houlihan play for Eri, because we really only have Zora and the Aga play. It is 50-50 which of those is going to lead to the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, and also, like, him having done Eastern Palace in this case, right, probably gives him just a bit more confidence to say that, okay, it probably will be worth my time in order to do and, try and look at Zora. Versus maybe just, like, having more speculation.
Somehow Harry managed to leave that poor little bloopy there.
Yeah. Alright. Fire Rod achieved or acquired for Andy. In this case, he's just kind of like following along. In this case, Aries' footsteps. I'm gonna get his in logic vanilla 20 rupees. Or not vanilla, just 20 rupees in the middle of the key chest. And then, yeah, I guess we're gonna see in this case what Andy also decides to do. Like, he may just rush Aga immediately. Maybe he'll also, try and farm up a little bit of cash. And, kind of like we're watching what Aries doing right now.
Well, also, Eri having not done fake flipper checks, this is a little bit of a hedge. Suppose flippers are on Pyramid Ledge. Now he's hedged against that potentially. But here's where Andy gets back a bit of time because he's already checked Waterfall Cave.
Right. Oh. good thing the heart piece was on the right one, just so it can save Eri just a little bit of extra time instead of having to basically go back and forth in again. Yeah. All right. Okay, Andy. Probably thinking just along the same lines as Eri. We would like to see what's on Zora. Oh my gosh, dude! There's the mirror. Can we see this?
Are we able to Ancilla delete with this loadout? I don't think so.
Yeah. Like, okay, I know there's like a red boomerang. Is part of like an arsenal. We've got bombs, but honestly, I don't. I mean, and certainly in chat, feel free to, give some suggestions if this is possible, but looks like it's probably not, at least from Aries' perspective.
But this is also now definitely an Agaseed. We have run out of checks.
But man, seeing that mirror though on Zora Ledge, yeah, Andy's gonna get basically the exact same news. But at least, the good thing is that Zora did give us a pretty nice refund, as basically as much money as we're gonna be able to get. And so, at least in this case, when we end up going to presumably pick up our Moon Pearl off of Pyramid Ledge, we are going to basically go, straight into Pod. Or Catfish, either way, whatever these guys end up choosing.
It's also worth noting that the runners have to actually wait and pick up that 300 rupees because they need pod money. They can't just say they can't just protest Zora's greed at taking their 500.
Alright, so at least, the good news between Eri and Andy is that, while they do both have knowledge of the mirror on Zora Ledge, they are at least going to have to basically both go back and get it. Andy looks like maybe he is thinking... Does he maybe want to try and set up another water walk to go get the mirror?
If you really want the mirror, you can charge a water walk and not actually use it until you get to the ledge there.
Yeah, looks like maybe he was thinking about doing it, but eventually it looks like he has just decided to not, and we're just gonna... he also knows that he's an Agaseed.
It is interesting, the mirror would get us Hera access, and for all we know, the flippers are gonna be on Pyramid Ledge, and then the Moon Pearl's vanilla.
That's also very true. There are, in this case, going to be lots of different, opportunities. We could also find a hammer on Pyramid, and then, maybe like magic bat. Or no, sorry. I guess. Well, no, I was going to say maybe like powder would be, but we don't actually have the real powder. We have a mushroom. But hammer would also be interesting too, right? That would also give us a little bit more access.
Well, hope you got your blue ball predictions in, because that prediction is now closed out in chat. How many do you think, Clear Mouse?
How many do I think? I guess we can go with an average 3. I'm hoping it's gonna be fewer. Oh man, talk about MSUs and jams. This is gonna be such good music. Okay, so I want, 0 or 1 blue balls, right? Because then we can move on at least to Dark World, but man, I want I want this music to keep going.
Definite cat jam music here. And so far he's been pretty nice, only 1. Is Eri tapping his sword in time to it?
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, I think Eri and Andy have gone through Aga at this point, I don't know, thousands of times by now. I probably need something to, change up, break up the monotony a bit.
So 3 it is.
So 3 so far? Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, we're on the lightning cycle. Yeah, and we actually can see, just again, Eri and Andy, superbly talented NMG runners, even made faster by the fact that we have a fire rod and tempered sword in order to get us through the tower. It'll be super, super fast.
A lot of people just got a very big payout, more than 10x if you bet on 3.
Wow. Hey, look, we found a rune pearl. That's the pyramid. Amazing.
And we get to hear the Octopath Bunny music, though, because until we transition to something else, it'll just keep giving us the bunny music.
Mm-hmm. All right, though.
Andy, of course, not too far behind. Well into his Aga fight.
Yeah, looks like the area is going to opt to at least check Catfish. I think is actually a pretty reasonable play, especially, that you end up knowing, in this case, that the mirror is on Zora Ledge, so there's no real reason in this case to try and, combine it with anything else.
Yeah. It's pretty well. So, how is it that when a runner like Eri tosses the rock, and it doesn't even really land in the circle, he still summons Catfish, but so many runners toss a rock like that and Catfish ignores them.
Well, yeah, so first you have to get, a world record or 123 time, and then Catfish will maybe, listen to you. Other than that, though.
And by the way, that was a red pendant on Meyer and the other 5/6s in Swamp.
Nice, okay. So actually, it looks like a hookshot is going to be very much required this seed. Not that I think either Eri nor Andy would have too much trouble getting past the Molder 2 gap without the hookshot, but at least it's kind of good to see in this case that it is going to be hard required. Andy, though, looks like he is going to skip on Catfish, at least for the time being. He is probably not going to miss those extra 300 rupees if he never goes over to Catfish. Just because, from the refund that we got from Zora, it's going to be more than enough in order to get us through the rest of the game, right? We need just pawn money, potentially some, in this case, like chess game, digging game, handful of stuff here and there, but certainly nothing too extravagant.
Yeah, and these runners both have a red potion already, which they're probably going to use to potion glitch the right side of pod.
Very good point, Drossi. I totally forgot about the fact that, because we got, both a Master Sword and the boots in the well, right? It was very easy, at least for me, to overlook the fact that we actually do have a bottle with a potion inside. Now, of course, Eri, especially after some of his earlier, kind of like tournament matches this year, I believe has solidly improved his mimic clipping abilities. But of course, using the potion and unlocking the camera is going to be much faster. Hey, talking about something that is in fact required, we did find a hookshot here in Pod. Talk about something that is amazing to see on both Ari and Andy's side. Oh my gosh, Ari, alright.
There are only a
Master-
handful of runners in the community who can do this reliably.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, this hover is...
So much for what I was saying about, potion glitch.
Yeah, that's right. Forget about potion glitching. Yeah, this hover that, Ari, landed, like, first try, and Andy is basically just about to get it, is, like, jeez, is, like, arguably the most difficult hover to nail in the entire game, just because you have so many transitions, so many different movements in order to try and get through this rail, and such well done for both.
You have to turn, and then you have to cross the rail at exactly the midpoint.
This is exactly what we want to see, by the way. We want to see, early boosts on both Ari and Andy, just because they've demonstrated and showcased so much good movement, so much tech, just because, they have, this case, all the movement ability at their fingers, or at their toes, in this case.
So, that's 2 small keys back there. We still haven't checked the vanilla big key chest or Stalfos basement, so the runners might have to make an awkward circle around if, or did we get the... No, we got the big key over the railing?
Oh yeah, we got it in the... Yeah, that's right, in the ledge chest, on the boat lock side. So we do know in this case that Pod's always bow locked in this case, but, well, at least in order to beat the boss, but yeah, specifically the big key is also going to be bow locked as well. Just a map, so nothing too exciting. But I think, yeah, like, of course, right. The exciting parts of Pod so far is that both Ari and Andy nailed, in this case, like the hover over to the bullock side. And we did find the hook shot in the bridge chest, but nothing really else, I think, to mention. Of course, and the bug net. Would have been a lot more exciting if we didn't find the hook shot.
Was that 4 items? I thought it was only 3. Or I thought we saw both the map and the compass.
I remember 3 items. I remember the bug net, the 20
wait a minute.
and the hook
shot. It must have been because, right, key logic, the 2 checks we skipped in front both have to be keys. Mm-hmm. Never mind. And Ari is charging that water walk. He is planning to grab his mirror.
Yeah, looks like it. And of course, right, pod routing, as we kind of demonstrated, it wasn't too big of a deal for both Ari and Andy, right, is you want to be able to use the mirror to efficiently route pod versus death warping. Especially on blue mail, and the more heart containers we get, it's just going to be more and more time. So it looks like Ari is just going to make that early investment in order to try and get the mirror. He just has to, be sure he doesn't get hit.
Andy, meanwhile, choosing to follow the hook shot to East Death Mountain rather than, say, to West Dark World. I guess it is faster checks. You get 7 in Paradox Cave pretty quickly, and then you do Spiral Cave for 1 more.
Yeah, and maybe, Andy will just find the flippers up here or something like that. Or anything that will kind of make his life a little bit easier, so maybe he doesn't have to necessarily do what Ari is doing right now, and try to, like, set up something extra in order to get the mirror. Oh, hey, that at least is pretty important.
Hey, I guess we'll be checking out Hera while we're up here. To pull Ether Tablet.
Oh my gosh. Alright, Andy. Oh, unfortunately, not quite making it over, the Paradox Cave gap with those boots. But yeah, speaking of, I think Andy's got the same idea as you, Drosy. We're gonna go to Hera right now.
And Ari will also have that idea. I mean, he's prepared to go to Hera either way since he specifically got the mirror before coming here, but I don't think he'll mind seeing that hammer. Was that just a piece of heart on the floating island?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and of course, right, with regular, traditional quote-unquote Dark World access with the hammer, with the glove, with the pearl, we're going to be able to have access, basically, to everything. Alright, Ether Tablet is just another heart container. Again, if Andy needs to death warp if he can get past this dead rock, oh my gosh, dude, that is so...
Doesn't matter what level you play the game at, you still get dead rock.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Did we see what was on Spec Rock? Oh yeah, I think we did the first time through. Was,
right.
Yeah. Right, when they got the book we saw it was on Spec Rock.
Yeah, it looks like Eri, though, opting to take, another bomb jump over to Paradox Cave. Certainly nothing wrong, but manages to make it over. And so he's probably going to just, in this case, like follow what Andy is kind of doing at this moment. Hopefully, though, he doesn't get... Oh my gosh! I was going to say, hopefully he doesn't get dead rocked. But, as a dead rock just magically appears and decides to block Eri's path.
Oh no, small key, so now 50-50. Is it here in the compass chest? The compass is in the compass chest, so we have an item in the basement.
Great. Exactly what you want to see in this case.
I think at this point you've invested enough time you kind of have to do the basement. But Eri, meanwhile, has skipped out on Hera altogether. Interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
It is a pendant, so there could be nothing in here and Andy's wasting his time. But
Andy, there's a reason why he is a 2-time rando champion, in addition to being an amazing, NMG runner, because those are the myths on Moldorm. Okay, so given those myths, Drosy, I don't think Andy's gonna sit through the basement.
Given those myths, we could have avoided Aga if we had,
Oh my gosh, that's actually that's
water walk to the mirror.
Oh man.
Chat reminding us that Moon Pro was on Pyramid, so we would have had to have done Aga for that anyway.
Harry looks like he is going to give us the last of our book checks. At least, the books seem to be pretty requisite in order to get us the lamp, which of course is logically required, for Aghanim. But other than that, I don't know, heart container and something else here on Bumble's tablet. Yep, just the book was necessary for Desert. It looks like nothing else that we care about. But yeah, with those myths though, Andy looks like he is going to at least finish up the rest of the mountain checks before maybe going somewhere else. But actually with those myths, he's going to save a little bit of time over Eri getting into the Dark World specifically, because we're going to watch Eri do the 3 Musketeer screen while he is very skilled at it. Certainly going to be a little bit, slower than just lifting the shortcut big rock.
And then, of course, the question is, when will Eri be forced over to Hera? I mean, he'll do Skullwoods, of course, can full clear that, can full clear Thieves. Those are things you do regardless, so he's not, losing any time doing this. We did need that Quake that we got off Library will be needed for TR.
Alright, sounds good. Thanks, Danny. Also, shout outs to our awesome tracker, Danny. He has been on top of every single thing that our runners have found and have seen. Oh my gosh, there's the Kata Samaria.
We could do TR.
I was gonna say, I assume we're going in at this point. It's like Andy's like, okay, I'm just gonna do, I'm just gonna do Death Mountain, and then I'll finish up. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll just get myths instead, on Hera. In which case,
I'm actually surprised he's doing Spike Cave now rather than just doing TR while he's here anyway. Is he worried about?
Oh, he can't get a mirror. Oh yeah. No, he needs a mirror in order to get into TR, or he has to come back.
Oh right.
Yeah, because main difference between Andy and Eri is that Eri, kind of decided to sequence break out the mirror on Zora Ledge early, like very, very early, after we got Dark World access, and Andy has opted to not do that quite yet.
Yeah, and he used the portal at the bottom of Death Mountain rather than using TR portal.
Eri, continuing to show us why he is a 123 world record holder in MG, and the Skullwoods has been, pretty smooth so far. Looks like though we got one chest in the front. This is the most number of small keys I think I've ever seen anybody have at any given point in Skull Woods. 4 small keys. But of course, Eri, even as evident, in his file name, he reminds himself that there is an item on the boss, so it's certainly very reasonable to do Bothula first.
And Andy's now getting the mirror. Now that Cane of Samaria will give him a slightly faster way to clear out Skull Woods.
Yeah, that's true. We don't have to necessarily go and drag and drop the statue. That Cane of Samaria potentially, and with the myths and the fire rod might also incentivize Andy to go into Ice Palace. That was a really nice mock fight. Yeah, that is I think technically it's 9 out of 10 because only 1 spike is missing, but yeah, Eric, good job. That spike was barely moving. Very, very close to basically like a ridiculously great 10 out of 10 fight. I think Eri and Andy know that they basically have to play their, A+ game, especially this series, in order to try and eke out a win between the two. Oh my gosh! That knowledge! Eri just found the bow. Oh, or sorry, they found a bow on pedestal.
Wow. Well, maybe that'll get him back to
Hera? Yeah. Oh my gosh! Right. No. So we're keeping in mind that that those could in this case like logically beat the silvers. There is going to be another bow out there somewhere. Bows are in this case progressive, but that is some really juicy knowledge on Eri's side.
Speaking of pendant dungeons, Andy's checking the Mire area, and that is Ether, which we don't have.
Okay. All right, so let's in this case see, where potentially if either Andy or Eri finds another bow kind of like out in the wilds.
So that also means the bombos from Sahasrara was not in any way, shape, or form required.
Depending on where the other bow is, maybe the green pendant itself, right, for Ped, was required. But yes, like the tournament was not.
Right.
All right, and Eri.
By the way, that was Clippers in the of Skull Woods.
Okay, yes, okay.
Only in logic. That also means we can do Swamp.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Eri also kind of reminding himself again, that there are, the item is on the boss, so once he found the second item in Skull Woods, he is done. Yeah, but in this case, between Eri and Andy, they have a ton of stuff they can do. Right, let's actually, what else do we need potentially for go mode? Like, we know at least where a bow is.
Right, but to get that bow, we need Ether. So one way or another, we're an item short.
Oh, speaking of, okay, is that...
Okay. Well, that's technically no mode for us, isn't it?
Yes, that... Oh, man. All right, okay, so...
Good no mode, but it is no mode.
Right, and of course, Eri has not been up the mountain, so he doesn't know, in this case, where his Cane of Samaria is, right? So he's certainly going to be looking for that. He does not have to worry, in this case, about potentially any medallion requirements, because he does have all 3. Like, I mean, we know from Andy's side that it is Ether to enter Mystery Mire, but, Eri's not going to care at this point. Alright, another potential dungeon where if we end up counting items, we potentially could skip a couple chests or openings in the back for here in Thieves Town.
Sorry, this is the first time I've ever seen Bwayne timed out in chat. And he deserves it because he's the one who invented this mode.
Bwayne, inventor of Ambrosia. There's also Ambrosia, like on a ladder. Alright, Andy is, of course, making his way, in this case, back to Mothula, and so, yeah, from Andy's perspective, he knows, in this case, that because he's already gone up the mountain, he knows that, in this case, he's gone up the mountain, knows the medallion for Turtle Rock. He has been over to the Mire area, he knows that the represent medallion is Ether, so, of course, once he goes and picks that up in Village of Outcasts, he'll be sitting pretty. That is also a ridiculously good fight on Andy's side for Mothula. Jeez, 9 out of 10 for both runners.
Yeah, so only one spike missing in both cases.
Mm-hmm. And assuming Andy does check the pedestal here while he's here in the back of Skull Woods,
Here we
this is
go,
potentially, yeah, this is potentially going to be pretty interesting knowledge for him. Right, so, okay, like, I don't know, what would you do, Dressy? Would you just basically try and still find a bow, or would you basically just rush pendant dungeons after you find, you know, like, the Ether Medallion?
I mean, if I'm Andy, I already have 2 pendants, so it probably is worth at that point just doing Pendant Mire. And you hope
Yeah,
it's a
very well
Golden
could
Mire.
be. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess at this point, yeah, you just go and clear out all the crystal dungeons you can, and then, you know, assuming you haven't found a bow by then, we're going to Mire. We're gonna beat the dungeon.
Suppose the other bow's left side swamp, then yeah, you just did Mire, but you've bought yourself the ability to go mode swamp.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so last item here, that's not on the boss, of course, is just 20 rupees in Thieves Town, so nothing really exciting in terms of value. Most importantly, we don't have another bow yet.
I mean, if Blind has the other bow, then Ares more or less set, except that it makes it less likely that he'll go up to Hera to get his mitts and might pull your swamp in the process.
Right, I mean, and for what it's worth, like, not having mitts right now hasn't really slowed Ari down, but we do know in this case that he does need to go beat, you know, Pendant Molecula, or not Molecula, Moldorm in order to get his mitts. You know, mitts, of course, is going to lock him out of a lot of places, right? You know, he's not going to be able to get to the Mire area, can't get over to Dark Death Mountain, can't get over to Ice Palace, right? So, hopefully sooner rather than later he's going to go up there.
Right, really the biggest risk to Ari, as he gets his red mail off Blind, is that he full clears Swamp, looking for mitts. Because, of course, he has no way to get knowledge of Mire either, though he has all 3 pendants, so what does it matter?
Right, right.
Medallions, rather. And Andy has not yet grabbed that ether from Chest Game. I have to imagine he'll do it right after he beats Blind.
Yeah, it's certainly very reasonable for Andy to basically be dungeon diving, like, right now, right? Because, you know, he is, in this case, like, he knows where the bow is, and he, of course, knows he potentially is just a ether medallion away somewhere, right? So if it just happens to be inside the dungeon itself, which, you know, Go Mode Thieves Town versus non-Go Mode Thieves Town, pretty much the same, so if it's just gonna be on his path, then he's basically saved himself a bunch of village chats.
And again, at any point, Ari could dig out a bow from any of these checks around here. I guess he's already done Stumpy, but he has not done Cave 45.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he didn't do Stumpy then.
I think this might be the first time that everyone or anyone's kind of been over to South Dark World, right? Because I think Ari started
he did hype to he did hype to Bombos, but I guess he skipped this area.
Yeah, and this is potentially where not having mitts might kind of bleed Ari a little bit more time. You know, Andy's going to finish up, in this case, Thieves Town. He's not going to really find anything useful, but he's going to get his next crystal out of it. He's going to go probably do Village, pick up his Ether Medallion, and I don't really foresee, you know, Andy doing some of these, like, overworld checks that Ari probably will invest some of his time into, just because, you know, at that point, maybe he'll just say, I have Ether, I know where a bow is, I'm just going to go to Mire.
And honestly, depending how much time Ari spends clearing Swamp, it may well be faster for Andy to simply do Mire and go mode Swamp.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, but like what Ari's doing right now is getting very reasonable. He is doing, you know, tremendous slow, making great progress. It's going to be basically his next crystal dungeon done. The good news, of course, about not having mitts that Andy got off of Pendant Moldorm is that the mitts do lock you out of a ton of stuff, right? So hopefully sooner rather than later, Ari's going to kind of have to get like funneled out back into Hera. And I guess I'm gonna be curious to see in this case if the bow just kind of shows up in some of the not quite on the way, but still kind of close on the way path of Swamp Palace in this case. Because I think, you know, once in this case, maybe Andy gets his bow off of pedestal, maybe he won't even check these, you know, he won't check the map chest, he won't check the compass chest, what Aries doing right now for Swamp.
Lazy worms keep dragging their feet. I missed that the first time.
Alright,
yeah. No, so Andy is going to be technically in go mode in about 10 seconds. And then the question is, what does he do with it?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Chess game, yeah, assuming chess game is going to be kind of his next stop. It certainly should be, at least some of the, you know, village checks. And then I guess we're just going to basically see what ends up happening. That is the big key in the compass chest on Swamp Palace. What is in the big chest? It is just the map. Oh. Well, it's a pretty terrible front of a Swamp Palace layout.
So at 54:30, Andy is in go mode.
Alright, he's mirroring. We're fluting. If this is a flute to 6, I think Andy will have made his decision. Yep. He's like, I have pedestal knowledge. I have pedestal knowledge that it is a bow sitting on pedestal. And as you mentioned, Rossi, like we have already 2 pendants on Andy's side, right? We've got Desert Palace and we've got Hera, probably because we got our mitts. And then, well, I just need to go beat 1 dungeon basically to get a guaranteed bow. Let's go. Eri, by the way, also picking up the compass as well, but I mean, so unless there is a bow in left side swamp, which of course it actually looks like Eri's gonna probably go back into, just because, you know, we've already found the big key, the map, and the compass. Yeah, I mean...
by the way, this track for Swamp reminds me a little bit of level 9 in the original Zelda.
Oh yeah?
Wow. I didn't quite get the 0 cycle.
Just missed the 0. Oh, this is so unfortunate. You know, we got the empty cycle. Not really anything, you know, of Aries' fault in this case. It was really great fight nonetheless. Alright, just 3 bombs on Argus. So in this case, let's see what Eri decides to do. By the way, that is a basic Gonmire for Andy, finding the big key on the bridge chest. And of course, Andy has basically, you know, shown us that he has been just on point with his boots tech.
I mean, who needs to bother grabbing a small key in that situation, right?
Exactly. Eri, interesting, not going back into left side. So this is potentially going to be a really good time save for him. Assuming that, of course, there is no bow up there, but it looks like we are going to go over to Hera at this point.
So at least Eri will get his mitts, which will put him... Oh no, he still needs to get Samaria.
Right, and that's in Hookshot Cave. Mm-hmm.
Right, needs to do Dark Death Mountain, and that'll put him in go mode.
Yeah. But of course, you know, assuming he does, in this case, do the rest of Dark Death Mountain after he picks up the mitts from Hera, so he's going to be able to do Turtle Rock immediately. And if we happen to find a bow, by the way, like on the path in Turtle Rock, you know, Andy, like, Eri doesn't have to go and beat Meyer in order to get that bow off a pedestal.
That's true. That could make things really interesting if he does that. And I imagine he will full clear TR just because it's not that much longer to full clear.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there's the other bow. It was on Biddy, so...
Oh my gosh! Oh my, that's awful! Well, okay, so are you Andy? Okay, if you're Andy, are you gonna go and, like, pull the pedestal for silvers? I don't even know if that's worth it. Like... Oh my gosh, you could have just saved and quit, you know, before the pendant dropping, too.
Either way, 2 pendants were hard required in this seed.
Wow. I think Andy is... Okay, looks like he is gonna go and pick up his silvers.
Because why not at this point?
Very reasonable. You know,
Debatable whether they actually save that much time now that you have Viddy down anyway. I mean, slight savings on Armos Knights and Helma King, and, you know, saves maybe 45 seconds on Ganon.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, right? Because it's like an extra minute-ish or something like that in order to get over to pedestal, in order to go grab it. Yeah, but yeah, you've still mentioned a good like laundry list of stuff that could be time saves, right? So maybe worst case is just kind of like breaks even, but maybe better case is that he's just going to be able to save time. So alright, simultaneous, amazingly great items on Eri and Andy's side. Eri picking up his very requisite mitts, one step closer to go mode, which is in this case going to be his Cane of Samaria, or at least no mode for him. Andy picking up his Silverstone pedestal, and he is in full go mode, and nothing's going to stop him. He's got, what, 4 dungeons left to go?
Yeah, and I think at this point, now that we know both bow locations, that puts Andy in a decided lead.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll listen to his Bomberman pack.
Yeah. Now, right, and this is probably going to be another, kind of like minor difference, is that, Eri here is still going to be looking for, well, actually, no, he'll probably actually skip outside, right? Because he's going to pick up his Cane of Samaria from Pokeshot Cave. He knows where another bow is, so he'll probably end up just go-moding to a rock. I mean, go-moding in the sense that he's still going to have to look for the big key, but chances are if he doesn't have to, like, he doesn't have to do Mimic Cave, for example, he might end up just skipping outside altogether if he can.
So
Andy, I was gonna say, Andy also turning off silvers for the backup pod.
Just wooden arrows shoot faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just shy of the hour mark, Eri is technically in go mode.
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is whether he will, once he does Super Bunny Cave, whether he's just gonna rush Meyer, or is he gonna clear TR and hope that the other bow is here, which it isn't.
Right, I mean, right, and like, Eri has access to Turtle Rock in this case, right? Just because he does have the mirror, versus Andy, when he was up here earlier, he didn't really have access to Turtle Rock. So, I think it's very reasonable for Eri to basically just finish up the dungeon. But maybe, he won't invest as much time, to full clear it, versus maybe, versus something else. Like, if he just happens to find the bow on the way, great. If he doesn't, he knows where the other one is. Of course, we know from Andy's side that you're gonna have to go to Meyer regardless in this case.
Yeah, and depending on the key layout, Andy may gain something by go-moding TR as well.
Mm-hmm. Alright, Andy already back in Helmasaur. Looks like he actually did set up spin speed, not maybe quite as necessary, but does kind of offset that hammer hitbox to give him a little bit more range. Phase 2, very simply done with 1 silver arrow landing. Really nice fight on Andy's side.
Was that 2 small keys on the Firelocked side?
It was a map.
It was no small keys. He has 0. I don't know how I saw those as 2 small keys.
Okay, I think it was a map and the big key.
I saw things that were generally sort of a goldenish, beigeish color, and,
Oh, you know what? Yeah, we were just a little bit earlier on the small key prediction because there is one in the compass chest.
Had to be because you need a small key in one
right,
of those
in order
first
to get
3 chests.
through. Alright, Andy mirroring over, and we're just gonna basically clear out the rest of the dungeons. Eastern Palace is the next stop in our dungeon world tour. And of course, having done basically everything else in Eastern Palace, we're just going to basically go straight to the boss for Armos with the silver arrows. Not going to be too big of a deal. Andy already, of course, switching over to wooden arrows. Presumably going to do a really cool Stathos strat room here with the bow in order to get through the next room. Combination of bow and sword beams work just as effectively, too. So I guess I'm curious, like, what do you think, Drosy? Like, so if you are in either Andy or Aries' position, like, having kind of like done the route, that you've gone through, like, do you feel good about your route? Do you feel good about the standing, between like, you and your opponent?
I mean, given the mitts, I think Eri is probably aware that there's a pretty good chance Andy's had them for a while now that he found them.
Hmm.
Because he knows where he got the hammer. It's entirely reasonable. I'm going to be curious in the interview why he didn't go over to Hera area once he got that hammer.
Yeah, that seems to certainly be, kind of a difference. Oh man, nice powder on
These
Armos.
boss rewards have been great.
Yeah. And certainly not going to be, necessarily logically.
Gotta check that bad for Buttersword, right?
Right. I was gonna say we also have a not quite vanilla, mirror shield, but of course we know that the second shield was also in the sunken treasure, so it would have been the mirror shield if either runner had decided to go pick up, in this case, their earlier shields.
Oh, it looks like Eri is go-moding TR, that he didn't bother with Mimic Chest.
Yeah, it's Mimic Cave is surprisingly slow, or it's slower than you might think it is, even though it's like literally like right on the way, right? In order to get to like the big chest, but you gotta mirror twice, once to the light world, once back to the light world, or back to the dark world. You gotta kill all those mimics. You gotta go into like the next room in order to get the chest. It is surprisingly long.
Andy's still opening chests. Really looking for Buttersword, or what?
That's a good question. Maybe he's looking for a big key, so he doesn't have to hit the switch, maybe?
Eri clearing out Laser Bridge, presumably just in case the other bow's there, since he had to go for the key anyway.
Yeah, I mean, right, it's like seeing if something is on Laser Bridge is going to be super fast, right? Especially with boots, you're literally right there, 4 items, or 3 effective items, because you probably have a small key there. Oh, jeez. How fast, both Eri and Andy execute, these, Icebreaker, Diver Down, boss fights is just, it's so beautiful to watch. It's almost
and
like a
backdoor strats on Trinex. This is pure NMG strats here from Eri.
Yeah, textbook fight here on Eri's side.
It's like he's done this a few hundred times.
Yeah. Alright, crystal number 4 down for Eri. So this is going to be pretty much what he has left to do up in the mountain. At this point, so he hasn't actually been over to the Mire area at all, just because we ended up getting the mids here when we were on the mountain for the second time. And so presumably he'll go over to the Mire area for the bow. But I mean, I think at this point, he has basically his choices of, he can go do Ice Palace now, or he basically go straight over.
And he's choosing Ice Palace,
All right,
so...
sounds good.
I mean, he'll diver down, not diver down, Icebreaker. He'll open a few chests, cost him some marginal amount of time to open the chests on the way, which, Andy skipped the chests, even the ones he went right by.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a very good point for Eri to kind of choose Ice over Mire, because again, if a bow just happens to show up here right in Ice Palace, then we don't have to go over to Mire. Alright, though, Andy finishing up his Ice Palace. So, right, we only just have, in this case, a Go Mode Swamp, which is going to be, pretty dang fast on Andy's side. And then we're going back up the mountain for him and to clear out Turtle Rock.
And Go Mode Swamp Palace, you spend half the time just pulling the dam.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you thought maybe like Mimic Cave wasn't that bad in terms of you have to go to the light world and back over to the dark world and back over. I mean, the dam is the dam is quite the investment. Yeah, and again, really nice anti-fear skip on Andy's side. There's a reason why he is a mid 124 runner, 13th on the leaderboard.
And by the way, just to give a heads up about the remaining games in this series. Game 2 will be between these two runners tomorrow at 5:10 p.m. Eastern, and if Game 3 is needed, it will be Wednesday at the same time, 5:10. So you definitely want to put those on your calendar.
Yeah, definitely check out the schedule. I mean, especially this series is going to be, like, pretty dang stacked.
Yeah, I mean, the other 3 series going on as well.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I mean, we are in the top 8 in this case. Quarterfinals of the main tournament. Every single person is ridiculously talented.
Like that GFE Zelga match last night, and they're having Game 2 tonight. I think P-Train and Schultzer are starting their series this afternoon, and then Obscure and Zero Rush haven't scheduled anything yet.
Not quite in this case. The looks like we didn't quite get the last spin off of Cold Stare, but Aries still manages to pick it up quite nicely.
You don't see all the puffs gathered in the bottom left corner very often.
Alright, but go mode-ish, Ice Palace certainly going to be very, very fast, and that is crystal number 5 for Airy. No bow in sight for him, of course, and actually really good on him to not invest as much time, trying to basically, go, slightly out of his way, quote unquote, in order to get a couple of extra checks in there for Ice Palace, because, of course, we basically saw Andy do none of that, so it's going to be pretty even footing. But in this case, Airy is definitely going to go after the one bow that he knows in this case. And of course, he's going to be, pleasantly surprised? The other bows is going to drop on Vitreous.
Yeah, and then it'll be like, okay, the time it takes Airy to do a boss rush in Pod and a boss rush in Eastern versus the time it takes Andy to do TR. Of course, it does help that Airy's going to find the Godmire here.
Yeah.
And Andy does zero cycle
nice.
Armos.
Argus, right?
Argus, something beginning AR.
Yeah, it's just one of those bosses, they're down so quickly, it's hard to remember, like, which ones actually started, because, well, we don't see them after, like, 10 seconds. Alright, so with this crystal pickup, Andy is all ready and set to go up to Turtle Rock. Airy is certainly not going to be too far behind him because, again, this is a Godmire. Airy's going to find the big key here right now, so all he has to do is basically go beat Vitreous. I guess I am curious to see, in this case, because Airy is here
Sideways
so much
hover!
Later, yeah.
Why not?
Oh! Doesn't quite make it. Oh, so close, though. But, right, the fact that Airy is here, basically as one of his last dungeons, I guess I'm kind of curious to see if he will actually still go pick up the silvers like Andy did. Because Andy, got to Mire, relatively on the earlier side in terms of, like, dungeon completion. So he would have silvers basically for a lot of the game, versus Airy, it is just going to be Eastern, Pod, and then GT. So I don't know, maybe he actually might opt to save himself, a minute, and not get the silvers off the pedestal.
Yeah, I mean, it'll cost him some amount of time on the Ganon fight. Maybe only oh, wow, you don't see powdering dead rocks very often, but Andy taking out
Andy has had enough. Andy's like, you know what, I got dead rock the first time. It's probably even the same dead rock too, right? He's like, well, dead rock me once, alright, shame on me, like dead rock me twice, shame, powder on you.
But yeah, so this will be interesting. I'd still give Andy the edge. I mean, Airy's going to have to climb the mountain after doing 2 boss rushes, and of course he has to follow the maze to Pod and wait for the cutscene there and everything. But could very easily come down to GT basement routing.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
And even at this level, believe it or not, Ganon Falls can happen for either of these runners. I have seen Ganon Falls happen for both of these runners.
Alright, Airy. Red Mail basically is just invincibility at this point. He doesn't actually care. And Airy not even bothering to get the pendant drop. We are going straight to Eastern and Pod.
Yeah, decided also. I'm a little bit surprised at this routing. I probably would have grabbed the mirror, mirrored out before the pendant drop, mirrored, fluted to 5, and then gone over this way, but this might actually be faster.
Yeah, I guess I didn't actually know, just because we had beaten Aga, we are going to be able to warp to the Dark World, and, probably can ask Eri or anyone else, I guess, maybe in chat, if you actually know, like, what's faster versus to mirror out, but we certainly at least watch Eri run over the pod at this point.
So, yeah, thing to remember, even if Eri catches up, Andy has silver, so that gives him a buffer automatically on the Ganon fight.
Right, and so, Eri looks like he is going to go at least straight back to Helmasaur, but still, this is going to be, a couple of minutes, trying to get back to, and finishing up Pod. We still have to go to the back and finish up Eastern. Andy is already pretty much halfway through Turtle Rock, and Eri still does, in this case, have another mountain climb in addition to finishing up these 2 dungeons. But again, depending on, in this case, like where the GTP key is, depending on how kind Ganon wants to be, in this case for our runners, it is still, very much within racing distance.
And, I mean, when both runners are executing at this level, execution can still make a difference. It just takes one of them doing, the gauntlet slightly cleaner than the other. So, if I had to guess, they'll probably get their 7th crystals right around the same time, but then Eri has to climb the mountain.
Right. Andy is not going outside.
To look for Butter Sword, half magic?
Yeah, I mean, right. I think he just wants. He probably just is just taking the chance.
Yeah, well, we know there's a key on Laser Bridge.
Right. Mm-hmm. All right, Eri, of course, already back into Helmasaur, so presumably it's going to be more hammer hits, 17 total, and then a silver arrow probably for phase 2, or just 2 slashes, 4 slashes, also good. 2 slashes and a spin, and also good too.
We can do math.
Yes.
It adds up all sorts of different ways. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not missing those silvers too much. So yeah, actually, given that Eri has to mirror, and even charging through Eastern takes a bit, I think Andy will actually get a 7th crystal first.
Alright, yeah, there is Andy's small key. Very first test of Laser Bridge, so doesn't even have to bother looking for the rest. He's already got silver. Andy's like, I think I could probably finish the game without Butter Sword. Man, Eri, and also not getting great Cannonball RNG in order to dash to the back of Eastern.
And Andy also going for the backdoor strats on Trinex. Full-on NMG here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good, of course, on both of them for counting, and then, quick swapping just at the right time in order to get from the Ice Rod to the Fire Rod. You can't actually, either pause or, I guess, do anything with your menu if something is exploding, so really good on them to be able to swap in time. But yeah, as you mentioned, textbook fights from both Eri and Andy, really showcasing, again, just how good of execution, they both have.
And, with that, Andy's picked up his 7th crystal. We have a little game. Get your predictions in chat, numbers 1 through 22, or bet your channel points.
So many different ways in order to play this game. Yes, right. As you mentioned, Drossi, Andy with all 7 crystals, and thanks to Danny, our awesome tracker, we have everything lit up. We have Castle Tower lit up because it was an Agassiz. We have every single crystal dungeon that's lit up because, of course, we need all of them. And we, of course, have every single pendant dungeon because, well, we know that one bow is on the pedestal, which, of course, we did see Andy get. The other bow, of course, was actually on pendant Vitreous itself.
Yeah, I mean, we could have used Desert only to get the lamp.
True, right. But it was so early, you know, you didn't really know what was going to be there and, like, what the sea wanted you to do. Right?
And honestly, given where the fire rod was, we could have skipped desert altogether and just gone through the seed on the fire rod.
Yeah. True.
Okay.
But of course, that would kind of require our runners in those cases to do Dark Aga. But you know what? There is the big key and Hope Room.
Yes, number 2.
Yeah, and that was also a big key and a small key, right?
That was the God Hope Room, yes.
Yeah, that's exactly, I think, what Andy wanted to see. So if memory serves correctly, and assuming Eri does kind of do his normal GT route, he will end up going to left side first and do Stalfos Room. So will be a little bit of time kind of lost, but certainly not going to be too much.
And yeah, those of you who guessed 1 to 2 with your points, enjoy your like 53-fold payout. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And some guy named Andy put in 10 points on that.
Is that technically allowed?
Compromising the sacred big key game.
Yes. All right, Andy, yeah, making his way up the gauntlet. You know, again, this is a mid 124 runner. Of course, this is also Andy, right? Rando in general champion in this case. He has also done the gauntlet quite a few number of times. Really basically showcasing his execution here. Eri, though, entering GT with his, in this case, 7 crystals. So, right, let's in this case see, in this case, where Eri decides to, what direction he wants to head over.
Hope for his sake, Hope Room.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
not quite in this case. So, I guess, like, for what it's worth, there actually have been some recent matches where Eri has gone over to Hope Room. But in this case, maybe not quite in this situation. We did get 10 arrows off the torch. You know, good on Eri, at least to kind of keep in mind that he does not have silver, so we are going to probably need a couple of arrows here and there.
Well, and I think he's specifically thinking Ice Armos, that if he has to go to Ice Armos, he wants to make sure he has arrows for it.
Yeah, no, certainly really good heads up thinking on Eri's side. Man, Stalfos Room is... I mean, not that we had high expectations, because it's not like anything else could have been over there, but that was also just especially useless.
By the way, in the time it's taken Eri to climb Death Mountain and just do the front of the basement, Andy's climbed the entire tower.
Yeah. The execution for both Aaron and Andy that they put on this race has just been phenomenal. It's just been so great to watch. Alright, of course, Andy showcasing that, of course, probably one of the last few opportunities, that was lightning fast, by the way, in order to get over that gap. Holy cow, on Andy's side. This is what happens, by the way, when you give Eri and Andy early boots, or basically, you know, quote-unquote starting boots, because you really can see how much they can really do and how much faster the seed goes if they just have boots.
The sheer number of hovers this seed, you really don't get to see that very often, especially not from both runners.
Yeah. Oh man, nice GBZ on Eri's side. Again, a world record holder NMG. By the way, that was also triple, I think, on Andy's side, or at least it looked like it was. But very, you know, reasonable. Yeah, really nice Agatu fight.
So, Master Sword Silvers, what do you think? Minute and a half? If that?
Yeah, can we quick swap back over to Master Sword, and can we like quick swap off of Silver Arrows?
Also, as Chad has pointed out, this is going to be sub 125 for an Aga Ped seed.
Yeah, that is ridiculously fast.
Not that Andy needed to pull Ped, but he did.
You know, it was all for the fans. I totally understand. Yeah, alright. Andy starting his Ganon fight looks to be really well pace in order to be setting up for the 1-1. Looks like he got it. Ganon's already on phase 3. He just needs to kind of stop moving around until we can get to phase 4. And Andy, of course, already has the silver arrows ready to go. Meanwhile, though, Eri, of course, Andy tore up the gauntlet. Eri is definitely keeping quite good pace. I mean, this is, again, like some of the best execution runners like in the world. To be able to watch them do gauntlet like this is just so great to see.
I thought maybe he was going to get in a triple before the torches went out, but no, just a double before the torches went out. But get your GGs in for Andy, taking the first game of this series, provided he crosses this bridge.
He looks to be low enough for the bridge to spawn, so fingers crossed that he is going to be able to safely cross. GG's, Andy. Looks like 1:23:35. Yeah, again, a phenomenal fast time for doing basically all dungeons.
I wouldn't call this a nightmare.
Yeah, this is in Zelda 4. You know, we didn't have to go, have a windfish or anything like that. Eri, oh, man.
Yeah, Eri does the final hover as well. Can't not do it. Mm-hmm. Though, of course, he'll have a slightly longer Ganon fight.
Honestly, I think maybe, you put silver arrows in Eri's hands for phase 4. It might even be a slight hiccup here and there just because, there's no, NMG world record muscle memory, right?
Triple.
Yeah, because of that blue ball, kind of, I think, forced Andy in order to get a 3 cycle. So, so long as Eri, can nail a double here, everything basically is going to be about even.
That's impressive because in the second cycle, I thought the 2 hit too close together to count, but apparently it was a triple-double.
Yeah, Eri dropping into his Ganon fight, and, Tempered Sword, this is basically going to be just another, NMG fight at this point.
And we are joined by our winner, Andy, as Eri drops into Ganon. GG.
Yeah, GG's, Andy.
That was a heck of a race.
Yeah, I'm surprised that an all-dungeon seed took 123. But,
early boots helped, I think.
Yeah. Getting that bomb drop also felt really good early.
Yeah, well, actually, you were slightly behind because you didn't try the tier 1 tree pull. Did you ever do the tier 1 tree pull in the end?
Nope.
It was 8 bombs. Eri did it in Lost Woods, and so you actually started out a little bit behind because you went and bought bombs. So, yeah, I'm sure you and Eri figured out in the race room that, your early mitts were the big difference maker here. Can you talk a bit about your routing in the light world particularly?
I don't know. It's really hard to just, YOLO Aggo when you only have a glove. So definitely, no, there's no way I was gonna do Aggo before Zora.
Oh no, Eri! No!
Remember what I said about runners at this caliber still take Ganon falls?
It was so mean. Oh, sorry, Eri. Yeah. It doesn't matter what. Yeah. Oh, poor guy. Oh.
Yeah, no, actually, in terms of the mirror when you decided to get it, because Eri actually had it when he first went to Death Mountain, which meant, if anything, I was thinking it would be more likely for him to do Hera, and then you were the one who did Hera.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought about getting mirror after Pod, and then I was like, maybe not. I don't want to get mirror and maybe sidetrack myself logically. If flippers were go mode or whatever, I didn't want to I probably get pulled into Turtle Rock with the Smari and Hook Cave there. So I figured I'd put it off for a little bit, but when I got hammer and mitts, I was like, okay, I'm just flippers and bow from go mode, so let's just go grab that mirror. And then I can like maybe speed up Smith Chain since that's in logic. Yeah, so at that point I was just kind of like gonna, you know, do the Dark World loop from Skull to Hype and then figure out what to do from there. Then I saw the bow on Ped and I'm like, okay, wonder where the other bow is.
And then you went and got the one on Ped anyway.
Yeah, got my flippers and I was like, okay, so like if Ether's in Village of Outcast, do I just like go to Mire and not do anything else? And then Ether was in Chess Game and I was like, all right, whatever. And then I was cackling when I got bow off of Vidi. And then I couldn't figure out if I wanted to get silvers or not. I figured if I got the pendant, I might as well.
And get your GGs in for Eri, who does take down Ganon here as well.
Yeah, this was a phenomenal race, by the way, between Eri and Andy. Yeah, definitely get your G's out, Eri.
And 128.46. 5 minutes does not sum up how close this race was.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, Eri had a really good comeback opportunity. Could have, like... Obviously, the fact that it was the God Hope room helped you with the climb. You know, if the big key had been further in, that could have swung the race too.
Yeah, I guess I'm curious, Andy. Right, so like Jossie mentioned. Speaking of, hello, Eri. GG's.
GG's, Andy.
GG's, Eri.
Okay, well, since you're both here, I guess I'll ask you kind of like a similar question, right? So one of the things that were probably like a very early difference maker between you two was that Andy, like when you went up to do Paradox Cave, you got your hammer, and then you continued and stayed on Death Mountain and did Hera, which got you your mitts. Versus Eri, you end up like after going to Paradox Cave, you got your mitts, and then you ended up kind of leaving and doing like the rest of Dark World. I guess tell us about, I guess, the decision whether to stay or go for that.
Eri, you're muted.
Oops. So after getting a hammer, I have the entire default which is in so I thought that was. I didn't feel like I needed to commit to a pendant dungeon. I didn't have to choose whether or not to go into the basement or something. So yeah, like after, like I already got the mirror as well, so I could easily go back and if I got an invincibility item, combine it with Spike Cave. So delaying it a little bit just made sense to me.
Okay, I mean that certainly sounds very reasonable in this case. But yeah, it just happens to be in this case, you know, Rando doesn't always have to be, you know, super kind. I guess in this case, like for item placements, just happens to be in this case like the mitts were on Moldorm, right? And you know, while the mitts still do kind of like lock out a lot of good stuff, but I think it kind of showed just like. More passively, right? You ended up probably doing more Dark World Overworld, like for instance. You know, didn't maybe necessarily know if you wanted to commit more to dungeons. You know, maybe it, you know, just cost a little bit of time here and there, like opening up chests versus like unloading them.
Yeah, and I'm not unhappy with my route at all. Didn't like obviously it didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, but I thought it was reasonable. I'm not sure if I would change it up that much.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no. I like both of like the routes that you guys both took. I think were actually very reasonable for what the stuff you had. It just happens to be in this case sometimes, right? The item locations that happens to be in this case. Mids on Moldorm kind of swung things a little bit.
Yeah, and obviously the bow and Vidi was the icing on the cake. if there was a bow in Turtle Rock or something, might have swung just a little differently. Yeah, I mean. That's the way Rando goes. Like, not too surprised to see Andy finish when he did, but yeah, him getting mitts early definitely explains a lot of that. I mean, early, relatively soon. I mean, the early sequence of the seat was quite interesting.
Yeah. Well, and one thing early that actually worked to your advantage, I mean, to the tune of like maybe half a minute, but still, given how close everything was until that midst divergence, you checked the tier 1 tree pull while you were going through Lost Woods and never had to worry about bombs again.
Yeah.
Andy didn't and had to buy them, so it was a bit of divergence, and you were able to do CAC a bit more cleanly.
Did you get a bomb and escape, Ari?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Ari actually beat more enemies and didn't have to go farming for the bomb. Andy, you had to farm a bit for that bomb and escape.
I saw that magic in like the first room of sewers, so I knew it was the small variety prize bag.
How did you guys feel about getting boots and CAC when
That
you
was
got the light
nice.
world hints?
It was very nice.
Yeah, I was in the process. Whenever I do an ambrosia, I'm like, during escape, I open up like random spreadsheet and I like generate some random seed and just copy paste like all of the checks, if it's light world or dark world or something, and just like post it in the spreadsheet so I don't have to like figure out what I have or haven't done. And I was like about to do it, and then I got boots, and I was like, cool, and closed like 3 different tabs. Yeah, this was a really, I don't know, 131 CR is probably the lowest I've had all tournament, so I can't really complain too much.
And that was for Aga and Ped.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, right, we can see the difference in collection rates here in terms of, Ari, mostly clearing swamp and doing some extra checks in TR and everything.
Yeah, you did quite well, by the way, Ari. I don't know if that was like part of your strategy, but I mean, like, you did check, for example, like map and compass just in swamp, which weren't too bad, but you definitely avoided like the big things, right? You didn't go left side, even though I was actually, a little bit worried just because we did see the big key, the map, and the compass like all in the front. So it's like, is he gonna go in? And if he does, like, it's gonna be, kind of like it feels bad. But I'm really glad that you didn't.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. I wasn't sure whether to do left side swamp or not, because I had Graveyard Ledge, King's Tomb, and the Hera stuff left aside from that. So I was just going to do Hera, then the rest of the overworld, and then come back to swamp. And I was just like, well, if it is swamp, then that's just going to be the one skip I make. But considering I had so little left, I thought it was fine to just come back 5 minutes later if I needed to.
Very, very reasonable. I was, by the way, so happy to see you guys both get boots. I mean, well, one is, early boots, I think, for both, in general, I think are also really great, but specifically, for you two, Andy and Ari, like, how good you guys are with boots. Like, it was just showcased, like, all over the place, like, for the scene, like, so many great hovers, to be able to basically see nailed on, like, the first try. It was just really, really cool to see. Not to mention also early Tempered Sword basically just was like super comfy execution throughout. So you guys like played like very, very well in terms of execution.
Yeah, it was.
I felt kind of bad about that Tempered Sword because I did Desert first before Saha, and that was like, well, that blows.
Otherwise, you had to come back. Otherwise, we had to flew back to Saha, right?
Yeah.
That's a green pendant, so I didn't think it was too bad.
Yeah, but
And then you didn't actually need the bombos for anything.
Nope.
But like, you're not gonna know that beforehand. I think, especially early on, efficiency is just so important.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure, it was totally reasonable. It was just kind of funny that, like, for all the stuff you guys cleared, the bombos was the one thing that wasn't actually necessary.
Yeah, it's also, dude, I don't even know when the last time I saw a Pearl on Pyramid was. It's been a very long time.
It's happened so often this tournament, though. It's kind of ridiculous. I've been watching quite a bit, but like the amount of Aga required things when we don't have Pearl yet. I mean, it's probably a little bit inflated because of inverted as well, but just in general, even in the more normal modes, it's been silly.
Yeah, I guess Any thoughts about game 2 potentially? I did see that like from your deck, Ambrosia was like the most possible one, I guess, because you had all 4 cards for them. But I guess anything potentially moving forward, like anything you guys want to see for next game?
Not open.
Okay, fair enough.
Unfortunately, it looks like you're gonna have a few cards for that.
Yeah, I've done 2 of those this tournament since qualifiers. I think this was my second Ambrosia as well. So
we've had a similar path.
I've not done normal modes this tournament, which is fine by me. But yeah, game 2 should be fun. I'm not entirely sure I'm gonna play it. Normally if you're up 1-0 in a best of 3, you'll play a little safer in game 2, but I can't really play too safe against Eri. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm pretty okay with any move. I don't think we'll be seeing C-Boss. Like, I think we've both had that pretty recently.
Yeah.
Which is pretty fine with me. I think Annie would have like a slight edge on me, that just because of like more wacky boss situations, which he has a lot more experience with.
But
Yeah,
I also hate map compass shuffle, so.
Oh, okay. Well,
I noticed McBoss and Inverted Keys weren't in your deck at all today.
Yeah, those were the last 2 I had. So, kind of makes sense.
And I guess Andy's played them pretty recently too, then.
Yeah, I had MC Boss game 2 of Wall Kicks, and I had an Inverted Keys against Matt Cap, I think. I don't know. I've had like Inverted Keys in every single like matchup in groups in every single brackets group or match. So like it's all kind of blending together.
I think I have like 9 or 10 keys or any keys as well. Yeah.
Yeah, game 2 tomorrow should be fun. Eri gets to be the tired one tomorrow, and not me. So that's cool.
Well, apparently tiredness works to your advantage, so watch out then.
Yeah.
We have races in the evening as well, and what am I now? 10 and 2, so I couldn't complain. Yeah, just looking forward to the race. It's always fun racing.
Yeah.
Of course. Amazing player. Just so much experience behind him that, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to get an edge over him.
Yeah, Eri, are you going over to a German interview now, by the way?
Yeah, I guess I might as well, sadly.
Sadly, interview in German.
Oh my god. I mean, so I think, everyone, and of course, certainly no slight to you, Andy, but I think everyone's going to at least root for Eri tomorrow, just so we at least can get a game 3 out of you guys, because, this series is, I really want the series to keep going. You guys are 2 amazingly great runners.
What if we just both advance after this, and then Eri and I just play in the finals instead?
Easy. Okay, I am fully behind this. If we can get admin to endorse this.
Really? You have to blame Eri for his 1 loss to Jet in groups, because that put him a bit lower in the bracket than he otherwise would have been, and that's why you're facing off in this round.
Yeah.
Which I think is literally Eri's only loss prior to today.
Yep. We both have 2 losses now, I guess.
Yeah, you swept groups and then lost once each to Vex and Macap, and Eri, had been sweeping brackets until today.
Yeah, but should be good. I mean, Eri is like a world record holder or something, so race 2 will be.
I was gonna say, I mean, you have a 124, a mid 124, 13th on the leaderboard. I mean, that's pretty dang good, Andy.
Yeah, but it should be a good race. I was talking about this after the Wall Kicks match. Any like, not even a major mistake, but even like a death in Mini Moldorm Cave or something like a little more minor could just be the decider in the high execution matchup here.
You didn't die to any crabs this time. That's always good.
What happens when I have boots and Master Sword and flute before walking to Ice Rod Cave? Yeah, Yeah, thanks for coming. I appreciate it a lot. Thanks for tracking, restreaming, all that jazz.
Yeah, and of course, thanks to you and Ari for putting on quite a show.
Best of luck tomorrow. And Wednesday.
Thanks.
It's inevitable, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, do give these runners a follow, obviously, if somehow you're not already following them. And thanks to our tracker, Danny, for, as he said, since he's in Sweden, actually being able to track at a time that's comfortable for him. As for what we've got coming up, well, first of all, if you speak German, head over to SpeedGaming Deutsch, where Ari is doing a German interview. At 2:10 this afternoon, we have the first match of Schulzer versus P-Train, which will also be both here on SpeedGaming Main and on SpeedGaming Deutsch. So, again, language preference. And then, as we discussed tonight, 9:10, also here on SpeedGaming Main, GFE versus Zelga Desan, Game 2. GFE took Game 1 last night in a thriller, so this should be an amazing game 2. As we were saying, these are all just amazing series. You want to watch them all.
Yeah, and good thing, SpeedGaming, I can't speak, of course, for all the admins, but I think the goal is to try and restream every single match, at least, for this main tournament, and the duration, so, yeah, certainly keep tuned into SpeedGaming, and whatever other, SpeedGaming family channels, right, in order to be able to get your fix for random.
Right. I mean, I think with 2 German-speaking players in this round, there are going to be a lot of German restreams,
Yeah,
if nothing
that's
else.
also true, too.
But yeah, Clear Mouse, I'm glad we could sneak this in before the tournament ended.
Oh, for sure, yeah, this was, man, what a race, Rossi.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Definitely a way to get the blood pumping this early in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that'll do it for us then. Any last words?
Yeah, no, I think I just want to echo everything you've said. Thank you so much again, Danny, for tracking, super on top of everything in this case, right? And he had more than his work cut out for him just because, well, it was an Agapet seed, so lots of stuff in order to try and keep up. And of course, thank you so much, Rossi. This was a blast. And honestly, like Andy and Ari, to be able to watch these guys, just put on such an amazing race. It was just such a great experience. And of course, thank you so much for Andy and Ari to be allowing us to basically restream you for this particular thing. Yeah, and of course, if you didn't quite catch that again, keep your eye on the schedule. But Ari and Andy are playing Game 2 tomorrow night, 5:10 p.m. Eastern Time, channel TBD. And then if there's a Game 3, hopefully there is a Game 3, it'll be Wednesday, same time. But yeah, until then, 2:10 p.m. SpeedGaming Main or SpeedGaming Deutsch. It's gonna be Schulzer versus P-Train. Yeah, until then, have a good rest of your day / evening / afternoon, and then be back for more rando soon. See you later.